Everybody, and welcome to another Just Enough Heshy show. My son was helping me with the computer, and of course he messed it up, so we lost our Facebook connection. Thank you, Avram, as always. Anyways, everybody, I want to introduce my co-hosts. Soya, how are you? You're going
Hi,
first
everybody.
this week. And of course, we have our delicious Bumi.
Good evening, all.
I can't hear you, Bumi. You gotta talk.
Good evening, all. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
By the way, Bumi,
yes,
you're doing a closing for me this week. Or you
well,
did,
I did the contract.
Okay.
We're not holding by the closing yet, but it's going to take a few weeks.
Because I'm broke, I need the money.
We'll do what we can.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Anyways, I want to, of course, give a shout out to me and have my beautiful granddaughter and Ellie and Sergeant Peter. Everybody together, Sergeant Peter.
Sergeant
Hey,
Peter.
Sergeant.
You know that he texted me. I actually listened to your show, and thank you for the shout out. I was shocked. You know, this is a busy man. He's listening to a little guy like us. That's nice. He's a good man. But anyway, we have a very interesting show.
And you forgot to shout out to your co-host,
Etty, but I think she's
Etty.
sleeping.
No, she's not.
she's
tuned
not.
in. We
We just
spoke to her
spoke to her.
earlier,
Yeah.
and she said she's going to call in. She has a few questions for our guest today.
Wonderful, great. So,
Okay.
anyways, we are going to have an interesting show tonight. We have a very good man, Dr. Lightman, which I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him before when he comes onto the show. But maybe I should tell you about it now. He came from South Africa. He was an MD. He was also a pediatrician. He was in the army where they forced him to go in there. He also did surgery, does surgery. He's a pediatrics doctor. I mean, this guy, and then forget about everything that I just told you. He's the founder of a place called Shalom Task Force that helps women that have been abused. He teaches young girls from seminary about abuse, helps them with therapy, prevention, postpartum depression, other depressions that he was telling me now that are even getting worse because of this lockdown and quarantine. He helps get shelter for religious women, special shelters. You know, he just works with domestic violence, something that's one of the things that is dear to my heart. And then all of that to stop, he gets he gets families to take in these people for Shabbos meals so they can feel like normal people.
And not only that, I understand
one of the
also that
greatest-
he is an allergist. Is
An allergist, yes, I forgot
as
about
a subspecialty also as well.
He's located out of Long Island, the Five Towns, and
At his place, Total Family Care, 601 Jarvis Avenue.
this man was talking to me, and we laughed together. We had a good time together. He's very interesting, and you can call into the show at 718-303-9090. Where can they call him, Boomy?
718-303-9090. 9090.
And you could call into the show. I wasn't going to take calls, but it looks like we figured out how to take calls, even though we lost our Facebook. But you can ask him any question. We're going to talk about Corona. We're going to talk about what he does. We're going to talk about abusive women that have been abused, and how not to abuse them, and how we shouldn't abuse them, and how if women are abused, how they can find help. It's going to be very interesting, and he's very knowledgeable. He's even into politics. And he said he'll talk about that with me. He's very smart. I want to hear what he has to say. Anyways, everybody, we're going to have to pay for the show. And, of course, we have Chamula Jewelers, 944 Kings Highway, 718-336-1980, 718-336-1980. Chamula Jewelers, a family-owned business for over 40 years, specializing in diamond engagement rings, eternity bands, and diamond jewelry. Or just bring your old jewelry to redesign and freshen up for a new look. Chamula Jewelers.
They bring out the sparkle in you, and that's for Etty.
Not they bring out, they got the sparkle for you.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry, Etty. They got the sparkle for you.
Visit them today at 944 Kings Highway. Well, not yet. At 718-336-1980. They're going to be opening up after if this idiot mayor who keeps changing his rules with the governor, which we have to talk about.
I understand that it was now the grand opening has been delayed to June 8th.
No, it's still May 15th.
Yes,
June
but then the
7th,
mayor,
he extended the executive order that they have power till then. But supposedly, even the DOB doesn't know, everything ends May 15. But again, he can extend it and do whatever he wants, and we'll find out about it.
but I understand also even the May 15th was a partial opening.
Whatever
it's not a
it is,
regular. Not everybody's just going back to.
I'm going to play about that too. We have Tehila Tishla, ttstyles.com, 718-675-6842, 718-675-6842, TT Styles. Call her for wigs, makeup, anything you want for events. Right now, she's shut down. But again, maybe she'll open up soon. But she's still doing your wigs. 718-675-6842. What does she have for you?
She brings out the beauty in you.
You got it right, finally. It's technical difficulties. 1504 60th Street. 718-259-4593. 718-259-4593. Call him for all your computer needs. He does everything. Don't call my son because he messes everything up. 777 Bob. Barbershop. I haven't spoken about them in a while. They're
Loves you,
closed,
uh-huh.
but he's going to open up soon. His number is 718-484-2499, but he is open. Green Line Building Solutions, that's me. I think I'm going to be retiring soon, Bobby.
That breaks my
We have to
heart.
talk
No,
about
you're
it.
not.
And a lot of it. But today, I want you to know, I went to an inspection. I got finally somebody inspected. I passed it. Sat there a whole day. They purposely kept us waiting because I've been fighting with the inspectors. As you
I
can
know.
See. I went Friday to an inspection with the inspector, made the owner come out of his house, 70-year-old man on coronavirus. I posted it all
my
over.
God, chutzpah.
Made him bring plans. We showed him the site was closed. He made us go all the way around and climb over.
But didn't the mayor
see?
say to stay inside the house?
And you know what? He made us come in and listen to
right.
the best part.
So, yeah, they did.
He gave him a violation. I said, what violation? It doesn't match the plans. I said, you don't let us work.
The mayor
How
should
could
give,
we match?
The mayor should give the inspector
I'm
a
going to
violation.
pass. I'm
I
going
think
to.
so.
But they just issued a frivolous violation and just to torture, and they got the man sick. Call Green Line Building Solutions. We're still located at 5318 16th Avenue in Brooklyn. We're moving soon to 202 First Avenue. 718-871-032. Anything you need to fight the city, you call Heshy, from inspections to plans to permits to violations to paying settlements with the Department of Finance, fire department tickets, criminal tickets. By the way, we're doing the criminal tickets for the mask for free. Anybody who gets a free face mask ticket. Now, I just got a ticket yesterday for somebody who got an idling ticket.
By the way, knowing that Heshy
An
would be
idol?
handling those kind of tickets is not an excuse not to wear a mask.
Right. But that's the point. Now they're giving
One
you an idling
second.
ticket. If you're
Hesh,
sitting, we're going to talk about that.
How can you get a ticket for
So
idling?
it-
You're not supposed to come out of your car.
No, so if you're in the car and you're idling for 3 minutes, somebody takes a video of it, they send it to the city sends you a ticket, and the person who takes a picture of it gets 20% commission.
But they needed the 3 minutes because they couldn't decide. Do I need to go on? I have to put on
but
my
sometimes
mask.
a plumber goes in the back, unloads because there's no electricity. They use the car.
How do you avoid an idol? By shutting the engine.
Yeah, but you can make a fake video. 718-871-0382. Call for appointments. We are meeting people. Most of our team is working remotely. We help you with removal of violations, and we get you construction managers. 718-871-0382.
And remember, if anyone can do it, Heshy can.
That's right. Green Line Building Solutions. 718-871-0382. Fallon's Corp. Wonderful girl. She's great. Again, appointments only. They're giving tickets. They actually gave people tickets Sunday for who opened their store just to went in to pick up stuff, and they're giving tickets. And not only that, these cops, which is illegal against our Constitution, going behind the counter looking at receipts. Till she called me, one of the girls. I'm not allowed to say them because she's very upset. And she puts the speaker in the office. I said, this Polish guy, and you know Polish guys, they're Nazis. He went behind the counter looking at her receipts.
You need a warrant for that.
He did it. So I put
You
it
need a
on. I put it on
warrant signed by a judge.
I said, you get his name. Finally, he said, I'm not going to give you a ticket for being open, but don't open again. She says, but there are leaks here. I'm checking my store daily. He doesn't care. He says, don't come into the store. Polish.
He was afraid of being reported for doing an illegal,
Doesn't make a difference.
unauthorized search.
And we're lucky we didn't get, but on the 13th Avenue on Sunday, they caught a lot of other stores, 1 or 2 people, and they gave them $5,000 fine.
Well, he's a lawyer. He would know about illegal searches.
Call Fallon's Corp, 3132 Bedford Avenue. She will make appointments. Beautiful clothing for adults, teens, and children. Her website, fallonsplace.com, which you can order online, FALLONSPLACE.com. Call Faggy. She's great. 718-325-5667. Corner of Bedford Avenue and Avenue J. Or you could just dial 718-FALLONS, FALLONS.
Heshy, what about my favorite travel agency?
We're going to get to that right now, but after we get to Wolf's Grocery.
Oh, the grocery, yes, of course.
Wolf's always calls me, always wants,
fully
stocked, always tells me to behave. Don't hurt you. He even called me after the show last week. He says, Heshy, you behaved. You were great to Dove. I said, I like Dove. So this week he told me to be nice to Carmen and Simcha Eichenstein, our assemblyman and councilman. I said, for sure I love them. I'm going to say,
learning from Dove.
that's it. I'm going to respect them both. Wolf's Grocery, 2362 Nostrand Avenue, corner of Avenue J and Nostrand Avenue. He screamed at me. He says, people are calling him from Brighton Beach and Borough Park and Park Slope to deliver food. He doesn't go that far. So listen, guys, just call him. See if he can deliver from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 718-252-1863. 718-252-1863. Now we're going to talk about your favorite travel agents.
Thank you. I would
Traveler's Choice. You tell them Uncle Heshy told you to call. Always, if you want, there's a lot of choice. I'm not going to repeat it. If we wanted a suit, we went to Frankfurt.
For travelers, there's only one choice.
Very choice. And you know what? the choice is called Traveler's Choice. If you want to go to Israel for a vacation, you want to go to China for business, you want to go to Miami for a vacation, that's me, you call Traveler's Choice.
Even Acapulco.
With all the choices you have, the only choice you should be making is call Traveler's Choice at 212-868-8698. Yossi and Devorah Lifer. They'll give you a great experience on buying your stuff, great value for your money. And here's the best part of those two. Not only do they have so many, like 30 years of experience in the travel business, but the only choice, instead of being on a telephone line,
on a computer line,
whatever it is, I messed up Yossi again. You call Traveler's Choice and be on the telephone line. You call Yossi Devorah at 212-868-8698. Tell him I made fun of him and he'll give you another discount, which is
and
not
remember,
true.
Traveler's Choice is your only choice to travel.
Traveler's Choice is your only choice for travel. They're the mavens in travel. And of course, we have my favorite guy, Mike. Here are your, if you have insects, roaches, ants, beetles, centipedes, bedbugs, no more worries. Call Mike and Mike's Exterminating. He'll take care of all your pest control needs. Contact him, and he specializes in hospitals, nursing homes, seniors living,
even the mice themselves.
apartment buildings.
He never forgets the mice.
He never forgets the mice. He's been doing it since 1989. After
I have to tell you a quick story about.
wait, let me give him the phone number. They won't call Mike. 718-645-0269. 718-645-0269. Also, disinfecting services for your place of business and bacteria.
I have a slight trauma when it comes to mice, and I didn't know about Mike back
By the way,
then.
you're not going to let me tell my joke in court, but that's okay.
Oh, I apologize.
No. Tell me about your mice. Because when I moved into my house, I didn't have any furniture. And I didn't close up all the holes. I moved in before it was finished. So I used to fall asleep on the chair. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night and the mice were dancing around me, making fun of me. So I hate mice.
Well, you know something, I had a trauma because I saw two mice once strolling around in the house. And, I dialed 911. I couldn't get the fire department to come down. I couldn't get the National Guard to come down. I tried everything. I couldn't get any help at all.
Joke. Come on.
Kill me, guys. Okay. Anyways, everybody, we're going to tell a joke. We're going to get Dr. Lightman on the phone. We are going to take phone calls. We're going to connect you into him in a moment. But in the meantime, we're going to tell you my important joke, and I'm going to answer him. Well, he answers it. You don't pick up the phone numbers here. Wait. Is the doctor on the line yet? We have to find out.
Trying to call. Nobody's answering.
Well, you answer it. Hello. Well, you can't talk into the mic.
Oh.
Anyways, here's my quote. Are you ready, guys?
Go ahead, shoot.
It does not matter what religion you practice or where your parents came from. Our belief and the truth is that all men are created free and equal, and that everyone has a right to and deserves an even break.
That's absolutely true.
And I want you to know, with our Constitution being violated, I don't want to wear a mask. I'm allowed to go outside. I'm not going to affect anybody. I want my stores open. I want to go back to work. They are affecting my civil rights. They're attacking my rights. The mayor has no right to have these executive orders. I know what you're saying, safety. Fine, wear a mask. Nobody's
That's
telling
right.
you want to do social distancing? Stay away. Everybody going to work has to be tested before they come in. But I'm just telling you that the numbers, which I'm going to give you a minute on Corona, of the 4,300,000 people that affected it, only 180, and they say 182,000 people recovered. 182,000. So my question is, out of these 4 million people that got the coronavirus, 182,000 recovered. And what was it? How many dead so far across the world? 200,000 people died?
Well, I'd like to get into that with Dr. Lightman.
Fine, we're going to where happened to the other 3 million people? They also recovered. So only 2% have died of the
Heshy,
coronavirus.
to some extent, I understand the
Okay, we're going to get into that.
constitutional rights, but I have my own particular.
Push the button. You have to push the button and put it on hold. Doctor, is the doctor on the phone? Doc?
Hello.
Dr. Lightman?
Heshy.
I don't know what's going on, and he has his radio on. We have to disconnect him.
No. I didn't know if I took it off Heshy.
Hello? Oh, wait a minute. First of all, I got to tell my joke. Can I tell my joke?
Yes, please.
Okay. Here we go. Are you ready? The joke is very simple.
Dimitri, we need the doctor.
Which one's the doctor?
Wow, I'm on the air. Anyways, here's my joke. Ready? Recently, and nothing new that you guys will know about, I had a fight with Linda. My wife. Not a fight.
So what else is new?
Right,
You don't know how to obey, Heshy.
As always, I was wrong, she says, and she's always right.
Of course. We know that. That's
Okay.
given.
So one day, after we had a big argument, which was recently, there's a store in the corner of where my office is where they sell flowers.
Okay.
So I went into the flower shop to buy some flowers because I wanted to apologize to Linda. I figured, women, they like flowers.
Flowers usually help.
Whatever. So I asked the owner of the store, the expression, you say it with flowers? I continued. Well, I have to apologize to my wife. What do you recommend? So the florist replied, how about a dozen of the finest roses? This will say a lot. So I told the florist, I speak a lot. Make it 5 dozen roses. Okay.
In your case, you may right.
Right. So anyways, I want you to
Hello,
know.
Doc.
Wait a minute. She forgave me again. Dr. Lightman, how are you?
Hashem, hello, how are you?
They've been interrupting my joke of the day. Nobody laughed. We have a lot of callers for you tonight. But as I was telling my listeners before, forget that you're from South Africa and you're here for 30 years. Our main thing that we'd love to hear about is your Shalom Task Force. Besides you're a doctor of medicine, besides you're a pediatrician, which you're mainly doing now, and you did surgery, and you help with domestic violence, which is very important because I've tried to help that. And plus, I'm also part of an organization that helps with postpartum depression. You do this on a constant basis. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, basically, I do pediatrics. When you do pediatrics, you want to look at a family in its totality. It's not just looking at the child itself, but how does the child fit into the family? What are the stresses around the child, and how do they affect him in his or her in her development and long-term future? So one of the important things is to see what are the parental relationships. And unfortunately, if there is abuse or violence in the home and it's not interrupted, or the child is not taken out of that situation and given the correct help, then unfortunately it tends to perpetuate into the future generations.
So, Doc, well, before you go on, my question to you is and don't get angry with this question. Sometimes a child, especially today's age, he'll say, I've been abused. He'll tell, hey, Doc, I've been abused. And, they're pretty convincing today. What are you going to do about stuff like that?
Okay, so we're not talking about that the child complained has been abused, because today, unfortunately, everybody thinks that they have rights, and a kid is more important than a parent, which is absolute nonsense. The parent has to still be the boss in the household and has to have rules and regulations and boundaries. And if a parent has boundaries, the child is able to function and cope with life, because not everything is given to us on a silver platter. So that's a different story. What I'm talking about is domestic abuse. So if a child witnesses domestic abuse and it continues into their adolescent years past the age of 11, then studies have shown that unfortunately the girl herself will marry somebody that's abusive and go into such a relationship, and the boy himself might become abusive as a parent. Now you think quite the contrary, that if you're growing up and seeing abuse, you would run away and do the opposite and treat your spouse as the best, wonderful person that there should be. But unfortunately, it's ingrained into the psyche, and that's the type of lifestyle that they'll then carry out. So it's important to break such a cycle so as the girl herself will not go into such a relationship and have a beautiful marriage where she can give the best to her children.
So you're saying habits and patterns of these kinds tend to repeat themselves, if I understand correctly.
Correct.
So
I like your Welshung. The idea, if that's the right word, the idea of a holistic approach to family medicine. If you're looking at the entire picture, not just the specific elements of the particular disease or whatever little problem that there is.
Doc, my question to you is domestic abuse just hitting, or is it just screaming? Because I sometimes fight with Linda in front of the kids, my wife, and we scream at each other a little bit. Well, she screams more, but we scream a little bit. Is that called abuse when sometimes...
I think she screams more because your hearing aid is switched off.
But my question to you is I saw my father, mother, and they never hit each other, but they had arguments and fights, and I tried also as a kid saying, I will never fight with my wife. And plus, Linda always takes the money.
Okay, so we're not talking about a screaming match. We're talking about that something where it's a matter of control. It's a matter of power.
Crossing the line.
Well, of course I have power. I tell Linda that I'm the boss, and she tells me she's the boss, and we both feel powerful. Of course, we respect each other, but the point is sometimes we both, even...
Doc, I think what Heshy's trying to ask is, Doctor, is there a way to actually draw a line and say, this is crossing over?
It's not a matter of shouting and that. It's a matter of control. For example, let's say the couple gets married and everything seems to be fine in the beginning, and then you'll say to her, I think I should control all the finances. You don't need anything. If you want anything, come to me. Come to me. You don't have anything. Only if you want something, I will give you. So you got to give me a list of what you want, and I'll see if it's necessary, and I'll give you some money.
Oh,
Then it gets to the
so the
point.
word is if necessary, because I know in my house, I control the budget. She controls the banking. She helps with the rentals, and we each have jobs, and we try not to overlap each other. When
Right. It's not a matter of division of labor, because in every relationship, if she gives 100 and he gives 100%, then you get 50%. But the point is in life that it's control. So it'll start off as a very simple thing. All right, so we'll do the budget, and I'll control everything, and I'll give you whatever you want when you want, if I think that you need it. Then it gets to the point, you got such stupid friends. I want to spend more time with you, just us. Your friends are not important, and they start cutting them off from their friends, so now they have no people to talk to. There's no social interaction with anybody else. Then they start cutting them off from the family.
Doc, every married couple that I know of, after they get married, usually cut off with the old single friends. I'm still friendly with my old single friends, but once we all got married, we pretty much less socialized with each other.
Heshy, I hear the doctor describing a gradual power struggle.
But again, I'm now making him entertain me because I see some of these things, and I'm just a regular guy like everybody else, and I see a lot of my friends go through this.
It's a different situation completely. It's not just a matter of establishing a relationship between a husband and wife. It's a slowly taking over control. And then you remove them from their friends. Then you start belittling the parents. And then the parents are not allowed to come visit, because why should your parents come? And then they isolate them from their family and friends. Eventually, the woman, if it's coming from the man, is totally dependent on the husband. A, for emotional support. B, for physical and financial support. Then you start belittling her. You're no good. You're stupid. If without me, you wouldn't be anywhere. And eventually it gets to the point where if she crosses the line, it's something he doesn't like, he'll give her a whack.
I have a friend in one of the WhatsApp chats named Yankee. We call him Yankee Heart, and he is very much into not liking when he wants to open up a special organization called Hope he's going to call into the show, that he feels that not only he's more blaming it on men than women, because I also believe women could be abusive, that
Absolutely.
he feels
both ways.
that there should be an organization where, like you would like your organization that you have now, that women could go for therapy. He wants more money for them, because he believes that a lot of these men not abuse but take advantage. You see, you're saying abuse. He mentions is taking advantage of them, and he wants to make sure that they get help and jobs and help with the youth. And he says he believes it's a big problem as well. So he feels, is there enough organizations, which I don't believe there is, especially in Borough Park, Flatbush, and Midwood, for children and youth centers and women that are abused? Because I know quite a bit that have been abused and nobody's helping them.
Okay, I think we might have to get to the grassroots of the situation. And if you look at it saying, well, once you've got abuse and you've got all that going on, how do you help the family? But you have to realize that
abuse is hitting also, right?
Yeah, abuse can be verbal, it can be psychological, and it can be physical. And the point is that when it gets physical, then the husband, if he's the perpetrator, tends to be much more contrite and very loving and very apologetic, and then gets the woman presents, etc. So she feels, well, maybe it was my fault. I provoked him. I must have done something to trigger it off. And eventually she'll start walking on eggshells, because the next situation is going to come, and boom, he's going to give her a whack. And once that is, then it's all lovey-dovey. So she's waiting for this to happen, and that's what goes on.
So, what you're saying? If the woman gets hit, it's a good thing that the husband treats her better afterwards?
No. I'm saying what happens if he gives her a smack, and then he becomes very contrite and apologetic. So then she starts thinking, well, maybe it was her fault. Did she do something to trigger him? And he builds it up into a pattern where she always thinks that she is the cause of it. And then she negates herself. She doubts herself as her own self-worth. And then it becomes an ongoing situation where eventually she's too ashamed to do anything or to tell anybody or to talk about it. And then she has nobody to talk to, because everybody has been removed from her, so she's totally isolated.
Sounds, doctor, as though you're saying that she herself becomes gradually psychologically depressed as a result of that strike.
How does she figure out when to leave him or run away? Or
Okay, so the problem is in the frum world, in the Jewish world, it takes a woman much longer than the average in the non-Jewish world. So the Jewish world, everybody is worried for multiple reasons. A, it's embarrassment. B, what effect will have on the children. And the most important thing is, what about the future shidduchim for the children? That ever important shidduchim, where the cover of all evil.
Shidduchim means
to getting a marriage partner for their child. So everybody wants their children to get married, to establish a beautiful home, and to have children, and to continue the lifestyle that we've given them.
Now, Doc, if I remember correctly, a lot of these women that do finally run away or leave, to what I understand, the numbers are that they actually go back to the abuse afterwards, right?
Unfortunately, what happens is there's a lot of recidivism, meaning that they return because if there's no place for them to go, or there's no help, or there's no support, then invariably they will return back to what they know. So it's very hard for them to leave in the first place, because if they've been made impoverished, or they're totally financially dependent on the husband, or they're totally emotionally and physically and psychologically dependent on him, then she's got no self-worth. So where can she go? But nowhere.
Doctor, is that also something where I've heard something like this, at least, that people who have been in abusive relationships and prior marriages, they have a strange tendency to float back into that very same type of abusive relationship, no matter how painful it was.
Correct.
I don't understand that.
You have to break that cycle, because the whole internal wiring has been, let's say, it's malfunctioning. That's why if you don't get the child out of witnessing such a cycle, they themselves will carry it out, either as an abuser or be going into an abusive relationship. So the woman, unless you break that cycle, of course, will gravitate to what she knows, and because her internal wiring is now defective and has to be reprogrammed. So that's why it's vitally important. If you look at organizations, they say, for example, the Shalom Task Force is not only helping the women that have been abused, but going into the educational side.
So it doesn't become a multi-generational thing.
Correct. So you'll go to the schools at early levels. You'll go into high schools and talk to girls. You'll go into seminaries and talk to girls and explain to them what are the warning signs. If you are uncomfortable in a relationship, if you see something that's making you feel uncomfortable, trust your emotions, trust your feelings, and don't get into such a relationship. And that's why all couples, and I believe that every single couple prior to marriage must go for premarital counseling, where they can work out differences. They can see that men and women are not the same, that a man hears something and a woman hears something completely different, that they necessarily are asking things in a different manner, but you've got to be sensitive to your future spouse's
So,
feelings.
Doc, your organization, the Shalom Task Force, does it also help with legal action? Because people are scared to lose. They're scared to lose. I know that yours, but the one you have. But aren't they scared to lose their children through ACS?
Okay, so the problem is ACS is a rather can be abusive.
Right.
Okay.
I believe ACS, because right now they're going around from door to door. Wait, I can't hear you.
Okay, you have to explain what ACS. This is child services. The city has a child services organization to protect children, meaning that if somebody reports a case of abuse or neglect, then it should be investigated and a docket opened, and then they can see, is it something is it something that's correct, or is it just a made-up story? Unfortunately, there are too many cases that are unnecessarily reported, and unfortunately, on the other hand, there are too many cases that are not reported. And what happens is today, because everything is called empowerment of the child, that many children will call child service and say, I'm being abused, my parent hit me, etc., which is also at times can be true, but many times it's just a false accusation because the child is angry with the parent, and that can get out of hand. But there are too many cases of child abuse, domestic abuse, that have to be evaluated.
Now, you've helped hundreds of women, to what I understand, Doc, and there's a lot of money needed for an organization like this. And we always try to support and tell, how does a guy like me send you money? Like yesterday, Hatsola called me and I sent him $100. I felt embarrassed. I ended up sending 400. But my question is, how do we support you? Because I know there's lots of money needed to help these women. What do we do?
So that's an organization called the Shalom Task Force. It is a recognized charitable organization, and it has all the documentation. So I would say basically somebody called the hotline, which would be 718-337-3700. And if they spoke to one of the people there, they would tell them exactly how to make any donations or whatever assistance. If they want to volunteer to do anything, I'm sure they will give them guidance and direction in that regard.
Wow.
Let's give that number again, if I may.
Okay, it's 718-337-3700.
Thank you so much, Dr. Heshy. I would like to ask if we can do something with respect to addressing certain physical aspects of the coronavirus. If you shift over.
Right, Doc. We want to ask you a question about this coronavirus.
I have a few.
Okay, you're gonna have to get a better mic. But my question to you is, Doc, is this coronavirus real? Is it fake? Are you making me crazy? Because what I understand to the numbers are, Doc, very plain and simple. 80% of the people who get coronavirus recover. Not only that, Doc, the people who have died, 82% of the people that have died is over 70%. Half of those people that die are in nursing homes and hospitals. Now, young people, even me, I go outside. I'm pretty careful with social distancing now. But again, these masks are not really working. I don't believe they work. And most importantly, Doc, I believe that the government is trying to find a way to not only to quarantine and to control us and take away our rights. There are people at the top with money. Is this because, Doc, 60,000 people, I feel bad, have died. But if you go look at the flu, you're looking at 600,000 people, less than 2%.
Okay, let me interject. Number one, whatever we say today is going to be changed tomorrow and it's going to be new next week. It's a very ongoing saga that's continuing, that basically we're caught in a vortex and a maelstrom of absolute confusion. We know one thing: coronavirus is a killer virus. It is bad. We do not underestimate it. We should not be letting our guard down. We should be social distancing. We should be wearing masks when we go outside without any question whatsoever. The point is that because it came from China, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that China never told the truth. They hid it from America and from the rest of the world. I do believe that it was already in China, probably in September. Okay, in September. And it spread to the rest of the world. Now, the problem is it is contagious. It is a deadly virus because it somehow has mutated over time. So we have had three different type of things. Go back to the early 2000s when we had something called SARS, severe acute respiratory virus, which gave a very bad respiratory infection, the lungs shut down, etc. That was called SARS. Then in the Middle East came in about 2012 something called MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, also related. These are all coronaviruses. Coronavirus itself, in general, is a virus that causes the common cold. There are many, many varieties of it, and that's why because there are different serotypes of it, we get a cold very often, and you get repeated colds in a season, all from different coronaviruses or other viruses that are similar.
Doc, I got all of this, and most of us understand, but I want to review something with you. Forget that Texas, let me pick Texas, for example, has 29 million people. Dallas, Texas has 2 million people. 111 people died. My question to you is, one minute. The numbers that we're not telling you, out of the 7 billion people in this world, 4 million people got it. 182,000 died, less than 2% of the numbers you came up with. Forget about how many people we haven't tested that have gotten it, they have gotten better. So basically 98% of the world that gets this virus gets better. Now, one more thing, Doc, and I'm finished.
I disagree.
Good, I'm happy to disagree. There are two doctors that I saw online, and they said very simple, and I want you to explain this, that if the immune system which is created and pretty much helps you by touching and socializing with somebody else to fight the coronavirus or any virus, if you stop working the immune system and hiding, the immune system won't learn how to fight the corona. And when you do get it, you will die. Aren't we supposed to make the immune system get sick? That's what a vaccine is. I mean, more people die from the flu with a vaccine than with corona without a vaccine. We have to teach the immune system to constantly fight it. Isn't that what the doctors were saying?
Okay, number one. The coronavirus is a new development, so not much is known about it, and we don't have immunity to it. So when you're talking about multiple people getting it, and then we say, okay, fine, that's called herd immunity. 65% of our population will get the coronavirus, COVID-19, boom, and then we have a herd immunity. However, it's not necessary for so many people to die. I mean, there's been over 187,000 cases in New York City alone.
Right, but worldwide.
But, hear me out. We don't know how many people have had it because, unfortunately, there's not enough testing. So if they could test every single person, then we would know, okay, do you have it or you don't have it? Are you carrying it in your nose? There are many, many people who are not sick whatsoever, but they do have the virus in their nose. And as a result, they are contagious, meaning they shed the virus. They cough, they sneeze, they touch their nose, they touch a metal object. It can stay on a metal object for many, many hours. It can stay on plastic for many hours. It's not something that just gets into the air and disappears.
It's interesting you should say that, Doc, because Soya actually said that to me last week. She said to me, she said you could rub up against somebody who was wearing a coat in a store or something. It can, and then you touch your coat later on, and you can pick it up.
But Doc, I want to say, but you can get the same thing if somebody has a rash. That means when you go into you go into a clothing store and you try on a suit that somebody else tried on before, he can spread.
But it's not deadly like that. No, most things die on contact with inanimate objects. Only when it's a live object.
Where it lives on the this is the only virus where it lives on the actual object, wood, metal, plastic, for a longer period of time than another type of a virus. This lives on, and this is respiratory. It attacks your respiratory. It's not your like a sinus.
But you heard what the doctor said.
The flu virus.
SARS also attacks.
All right, but Heshy, this is what I was getting to my point earlier. I wanted the doctor to explain to us, why is it the flu doesn't seem to be such a threat, even though so many people, versus this virus? And let's hear this out.
Okay, let's go back to 1918. 1918, you had something called the Spanish flu. They think maybe even it was related to one of the coronaviruses. They're not sure. But it's not really Spanish flu because it didn't really come from Spain, but it was called the Spanish flu. A worldwide epidemic, worldwide pandemic. Millions of people, up to 50 million people died. They never had immunity to it. So it was new for them. The flu is a virus that tends to mutate. So every 20 years or so, it tends to have a mutation. That's why we choose, go based on what goes on in the southern hemisphere. For the northern hemisphere, what was the prevalent strain? There are multiple strains of the flu virus, and you choose a vaccine. Every year, some of that vaccine from the previous year can help the following year, but it depends what type of mutation there is or what type of virus it is. So sometimes it's only 35%, sometimes 45%, even up to 65% effective. But we build up a certain amount of immunity, so we recognize this as foreign and we're able to attack it. When it comes to the coronavirus, if you remember recently we had a measles outbreak. So there was a tremendous problem with measles. Why? It is exceptionally contagious, meaning that somebody walked through the airport, through a terminal with measles. That whole terminal is now contagious for 2 hours. So you say, okay, so what? Well, a big deal. You just brushed against somebody and you tried on their clothing. No, the SARS virus, the COVID-19, will sit on clothing. It will sit on materials. It will go from person to person through coughing, through sneezing, a person touches their face 26 times in 1 minute without being aware of it. They touch their nose, their mouth, their eyes. This passes on the virus. So that's why I say to people, when you go out, use your brain. God gave you a brain, use it. Don't sit on your rear
some of
end.
us, moving. Some of us are asymptomatic, which means they're carrying the virus, but they're not
Correct.
getting sick.
Yeah.
And most likely the testing won't work on them also.
It's not. What do you mean it won't work on them? If you test their nose, they can be positive. If asymptomatic means that they don't have any, they can be positive having the virus in their nose, but they're not having any clinical symptoms. Now, everybody has a different genetic makeup. So if you look at an individual, you'll say, why are men, for example, suffering more than women? So now they're looking at different tests. Is it the male genome? Is it because the virus tends to collect more in the testicles where it can grow? And they're not sure. That's one study. Another study shows different receptors called angiotensin-converting enzyme receptors that sit in the cells that males tend to have more of, and this allows the virus to pass through. They don't know, but every person reacts differently, and everybody has a different genetic makeup.
Doctor, if I understand correctly, what you had said before, if I'm correctly in my understanding, is that this is a much more dangerous virus than an ordinary flu because it is much more contagious. It is contagious by much more forms of contact and within the air than a regular flu is.
Correct, and it's changing day by day. We used to say kids didn't get it.
So what do you say to people when I'm walking in the street and I see so many people, unfortunately, that don't seem to take it seriously and don't wear a mask? And then I was with Sawyer last week, and I was in my building and I saw somebody without a mask, and I jumped, okay, and Sawyer said, don't. But in the meantime, I asked him, why do you do that? And he said to me, he said, my doctor told me that I already had it, and therefore I have built up a personal immunity and I'm not immune anymore. What does that mean?
That is a problem because, you see, because it's evolving, it's an ongoing evaluation of what's happening in society today. So we say, okay, so we tested you and you've got antibodies. Now, are the antibody tests that reliable? So it depends how it's done. Yes, if it goes through a certified laboratory and it's done from a vein, they are working on tests to do the finger prick. At the moment, the finger prick one is not that accurate and doesn't tell you specifically what's going on. So let's say they have an antibody, a person gets the infection, within about 2 weeks later, they should be developing antibodies against it to fight this infection. So they measure the antibodies called IgG, and yes, lo and behold, the person has IgG. However, they don't know the level of the IgG. B, they don't know what level of IgG you need for immunity. If you measure, let's say a person had chickenpox, and now you measure the antibodies against chickenpox, you know what the level is that conveys immunity. So here we don't know what level do you need.
So they can still be carriers.
Yes, so B, you don't know then, if you've got the antibodies, fine, how long is it going to last for? Is it going to last for 2 months? Is it going to last for 2 years? Is it going to give lifelong immunity? We don't know. So you can have people who've got the antibody but still have the virus in their nose. Now, okay, so then we can argue and say, all right, fine. They've had the virus in their nose. They were 635 days ago. Wow, it's a long time to have it in your nose still. Is it really the virus? Is it just dead material that the test is picking up? We don't know.
So, Doc,
I presume.
Doc, woman, I want to ask you one last question because I want to take phone calls from people for you. I want to ask you a small 3-part question. You have 2 minutes to answer because I want to take calls for you. My question is number one. 650,000 people died from the flu this year, 60,000 from corona. So something is wrong that the numbers are worse by the flu, that you're claiming that corona is worse when I'm thinking 650,000 people died, another 600,000. Part 2 of this question is, will there be a second wave? And finally, part 3, will this ever end? Doesn't the summer take this away?
Okay, the problem is we don't know if there's going to be a second wave, but you know that if there's a lack of social distancing, if there's a breakdown of barriers, there probably will be an upsurge and a second wave. Already in certain countries where they've let their guard down, have loosened certain restrictions, there is already an upsurge. And again, in China, there's an upsurge. But when you said the flu kills more, the flu tends to kill those people that have underlying respiratory problems.
So does corona.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. There are plenty of people, healthy, young, strapping individuals who have died because they can take an individual who's got an underlying comorbidity. But because some people have a very strong immune system, they get an overload of the immune system where it goes haywire and it releases a lot of chemicals called cytokines, and they get the cytokine overload and go into complete shutdown of all the organs.
Do you think we'll find a vaccine?
I believe that God will provide a vaccine.
God, we're back to God. Now, I had a chemist on my show.
I still want to hear Heshy the answer that he mentioned about the summertime. What do
you think about the summer?
Ameliorate some of the.
Okay, so normally you tend to see a decrease in, let's say, the flu in the summer. This one we don't know because it's already been around in Australia, in Africa, which is in the southern hemisphere, where it has been summertime and it's hot and humid, but it is there already. So the question is, let's say, why isn't Africa completely devastated? Why isn't India completely devastated, where you've got slums and overcrowding? It has been devastating in South America, which is another problem. But if you look into Africa and India, the question now is, a lot of those individuals, it's mandatory to get something called BCG. BCG is an immunization against tuberculosis. So now one of the theories is this BCG that they're giving for tuberculosis, does that give some type of protection by enhancing the immune system? So they're doing studies now where they've taken, in 2 countries, 4,000 medical workers and given them the BCG to see what will happen in the future.
Last question.
Don't know.
Doc, last question, because I want to take a call. Doctor, you heard of Dr. Zelenko?
Yes, sure.
He says 99% of the people that use this treatment, they got better.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine, which is an anti-malarial drug, and it's used for autoimmune diseases, and you combine that together with azithromycin, which is an antibiotic. The only problem with that is the person must monitor their heart because it causes something called a prolonged QT interval, which means the heart can have an irregular pattern, and it's very important to monitor the ECG. I think the studies on that are still being evaluated. Some people are debunking it and say it's not true, it doesn't help. I do think there's a lot to it. I had used it on multiple patients, and thank God they all survived.
Wow.
But
great. So
you don't know.
So you did use it. You did use it, and they got better.
Yeah, but it's anecdotal. It's anecdotal because you need a long-term study of multiple patients in a controlled environment.
Okay.
You have to monitor them. I mean, the answer is we don't know.
We don't know. You're going to try whatever it takes. Doc, we're going to take a few phone calls. Soya?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Quick question. Hi. I spoke to my brother who lives in Maryland today. Hi, Dr. Lightman.
Hi.
Best warm regards to Mrs. Lightman.
Thank you.
I spoke to my brother Max, who lives in Maryland today, and he had a question that he actually sent into the CDC and to another organization about a month ago, and he has not gotten a response yet. His question was, the summer is here, it's upon us, it's coming, and the children are going to be spending a lot more time, hopefully, outside. And is there transference from mosquitoes because there's going to be water, puddles outside? Mosquitoes.
Okay, I don't think anybody's shown anything with mosquitoes going that. I mean, they said like there's 3 dogs and a cat and a tiger, but no one thinks that their pets transmitted to humans, and I don't think anybody's shown anything with mosquito. It's not that type of virus that will go that way. The problem now with the kids being outdoors is somehow we've got to get those kids into a camp. We've got to get them back into normal lifestyle because the amount of psychological problems that are occurring in kids and in families and resorting to drugs and alcohol amongst the parents and even the youth is a problem during this crisis because people are confined.
That's definitely something we talked about. In fact, Heshy addressed it. In the meantime, we have several callers who'd like to speak with you, Doc, if we may.
So go ahead, Soya. Let's take Rifki 5. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Rifki. You're on there with Heshy, Soya, Bumi, and Dr. Lightman.
Yes. The doctor is very interesting, and I enjoyed this discussion very much. My main question didn't relate to that, but I will tell you, Heshy, that you're right about the stores. I mean, I think our mayor doesn't realize. Our mayor keeps saying, people need shoes. Let them wear the shoes in their closet. They don't realize that in our community, we have young children. They grow from year to year. They grow out of their clothes. They grow out of their shoes. The parents are having a very hard time. They can't dress them. My daughter tells me her children were in uniforms till now. Now it's summer. Now they need.
Okay, Rivki. Let me ask that to Dr. Lightman. Thank you for your call, Rivki.
Yes, but I want to ask you
Go,
one.
go ahead. Don't hang up. You hung up too quickly on Rivki. Rivki, I'm sorry. Dr. Lightman, I don't think it's fair that you're not letting me go shopping for my stuff in stores.
Okay, fine.
I'm not making fun of you, but I believe that she's right. You can't do that to me, Doc.
Okay.
I gotta take a haircut. I gotta go buy shoes. I gotta go to the cleaners.
So what you got to do? You got to do it with intelligence, meaning that if you're going to open a shop, for example, you don't have crowd of people. You make it by appointment. So somebody will come in at a certain time, just like my medical office. No one sits in the waiting room. People are given specific times to be there. There's no cross-contamination. No person passes another person. They're in a room. The room is closed. They don't see anybody else. No one's passing by the next person in the corridor.
Can we do it by line? Because Doc,
it.
nobody's going to have a store that guy has appointments. You need a store that, like a shopping center.
You can't take 200 children with their parents and extended family barging into a shoe store, all sitting there next to each other on the same bench, touching every different shoe box.
But we do that. We do that in supermarkets.
No, we don't.
Well,
the supermarkets now are holding lines, and they're letting some people in at a time. Not too many people.
What are you talking about?
I see it. I got on lines at the supermarket.
You cannot.
ShopRite.
It's not a free for all. You got to use common sense and intelligence. So you got to go shopping.
Let's take another call. Sawyer, line 3. Hello, you're on the air with Dr. Lightman, Sawyer, Bumi, and Uncle Heshy.
Oh, hello, Big H. This is Eddie from Dyker Heights.
Hello, Eddie. How are you?
Eddie.
Hi, Eddie.
Hello. Listen, this isn't a question for Dr. Lightman, but I just wanted to, mention for your listeners something different. You were talking about stores at the beginning, and I heard today on the radio that there's a number of stores in Manhattan and other places that have been broken into, and by people that the mayor has let out of Rikers.
Yeah, and you know what? I want you to know that this idiot, I don't mean to say Dr. Lightman, but I just want you to know that this guy actually who says this mayor,
guy being Mayor de Blasio.
Mayor de Blasio, who's putting people out of business left and right, he actually threatened that I will have you arrested. He has an executive order. Where is it? An executive order, where is it? Give it to me. A law that says, Eddie, that if a person is in any way obstructing a general administration, intentionally obstructs or perverts the administration of law, they can be arrested. Now, forget that it's a violation of civil rights, but Doc, we're going crazy in our home. We're getting depressed. Look what Eddie's telling you. It just can't go on like this.
Okay, there's a lot of misguided information. There's a lot of stupidity when it comes to the so-called, let's call them leadership, that everything is cockeyed in what they're doing because no one thought this out well in advance, meaning that you're letting people out of Rikers Island. You're doing all this because they shouldn't get contaminated, and the heroic workers that go in there, the correctional officers, the MTA who are driving the trains and the buses, they're the ones that are suffering and getting infected. So you've got to protect them, but to just go let out all the prisoners and let them continue looting society is quite tragic.
You're arresting regular people who are having nervous breakdowns. You told me, Doctor.
Correct.
People are getting more depressed, who are going through depression now, and you're flipping us out.
Correct, because what's happening is that you've got to approach it with a concerted effort of education and intelligence. Meaning, okay,
we're going to take another caller. Eddie, I love you. We're going to say goodbye. How did you like my joke and quote of the day?
It was you had better, Heshy.
Oh wow, I'm falling.
Good night, Eddie.
Good night. Good night.
Eddie.
Good night. Take another caller. Take line 1. Doc, you're on the air with Heshy, Dr. Lightman, and Sawyer and Brumi.
Hello.
Etty.
Dr. Lightman, Etty is our regular co-host.
Dr. Lightman.
Our hostess.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Lyman, it's a pleasure listening to you. And I do have a question. I'll keep it very short. Okay, so in my individual case, I have one child that's immunocompromised in the house. He has Crohn's. He's taking Remicade. So he's staying indoors. He's been indoors now for 6 weeks. My husband needs to go out to work. My husband has had corona already. And when he goes out to work and comes in, he takes a shower, does the whole thing he's supposed to, takes the necessary precautions. But should my son stay away from my husband at this point, even though my husband has had corona already?
Okay, if your husband's nasal culture is negative,
Mm-hmm.
and you've been living in the same house the whole time, then fine, so they have contact. But I mean, as long as your husband is doing the precautions, he's doing which is intelligent, he leaves his shoes at the front door, he changes his clothing, then fine. And you can take your son outdoors. He can go and sit outside, let him get some sunshine. Unfortunately, most kids and adults now are suffering from lack of vitamin D because we're not
doing that.
Sunshine. So
we're doing that, but he's also taking vitamin D supplements, which I hear is not so great for immunocompromised people right now.
He should be taking zinc and vitamin C as well. But he's getting his Remicade infusions, and luckily the centers are open to give it to him. Because unfortunately, with all the insurances and the regulations, many places were not giving the individuals their Remicade infusions, and they were waiting too long to give it to them. So at least he's getting that, which is very important. But there's nothing wrong with taking him outside for a walk, wearing a mask, wearing gloves, and avoiding
doing that.
Close contact with other people.
And even if my son were to wear a mask, can he go, let's say, shopping in the local grocery because he's immunocompromised?
I don't believe children should be going into the grocery store.
He's 20. He's 20 years old.
And if you can avoid it. Does he have to go? Preferably
no,
because
doesn't have to.
Because people make a mistake. They put on gloves and they think they're safe. But really, what you're doing is, if you're wearing the gloves the whole day, you're just transferring from place to place. So if you go into a shop, you put on the first pair of gloves, you come out of the shop, you discard those gloves, you don't touch your car door, you don't push your button for the remote with the same pair of gloves that you've been wearing in the shop. It gives you a false sense of security.
We got to take another call. Etty, I love you.
Okay. I love you. Thank you, Dr. Lightman. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Doc, we're taking one more call for you. Hello, you're on the air with, did you push the button with Heshy, Dr. Lightman, Soya, and Bumi? Hello?
Heshy.
Yeah.
How are you, Tadiq?
How are you, my brother?
You're a hard man to reach, man. I hope everything okay. I love the show.
Thank you, my boy. Thank you. We got a question for us or Dr. Lightman?
No, it's a question for you, but I'll do it another time. But just trying to stay, not get depressed from all this. Good show, though.
Thank you, my baby.
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
you so much, my boy.
Be well.
Thank you for calling in. Dr. Lightman, before we end the show, I have two questions for you. One, Trump or no Trump? Meaning which way are we going with you? You have to answer. Now, Doc, people are standing in line to go to Home Depot. People are standing in line to go to ShopRite, but they're not going to let us go to the polls. Is that fair?
Okay, look, I believe that
I'm going to the polls. I'm voting for Trump.
I do believe anybody who votes for a Democrat is an idiot. Okay. Okay.
I'll second that.
When it comes to the president, if he wore the mask and it was a bit of a muzzle, that would also suit him fine. But the country is in good hands. We've got Anthony Fauci. We've got good people trying to guide and direct the country, and we should all band together as one country. America's for everybody. We should all be united, trying to help our neighbors and friends. There should not be bipartisanship and all this nonsense where people are not supporting each other. The government should get the act together. All these individuals who sit in Congress should get off their rear end and do something positive to this country, work as a united team for the benefit of America and all the Americans in it. There should not be food lines. Why are there people having to be starving for food, and you go through certain impoverished areas where there's food kitchens, the people standing in line. Yeah. I think that's embarrassing and disgusting.
Doc, thank you for the time. Just for your knowledge, everybody, Shalom Task Force, you can send a donation or call the office at 718-337-3700. Find a way to send money. He helps people. Doc, you've been wonderful. We got to say goodbye tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Lightman. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's very informative, Dr. Lightman. We
and may everybody be healthy and well and use their brains.
Thank you. Amen. I'll drink to that.
Now, Doc, without Doc, I'm going to thank you, Doc, for your call. She's going to hang up. I want you to know, everybody, I am ending the show tonight, and I'm going to tell you some things. I love the Dr. Lightman. I want you to know, I want to thank personally, don't get angry at me, Soya and you, Bumi and Etty, but my councilman Yeager, who has called me and has advised me on how to win tickets, and he's helping us control the DOB somewhat, even though they've lost it. They're violating people personally. I'm in touch with our councilman. He has a lot of stuff he's trying to get done. Our assemblyman and councilman, Assemblyman Eichenstein, they're working together, and they're actually informing us. They're picking up our phone calls. They're on top of it. Kalman Yeager personally called me on Saturday night and Sunday and said, Heshy, we are helping the community. He's giving me ideas. He gave me ideas how he's going to help me. He's going to try to speak to the mayor to not allow them to prosecute it, but we're prepared anyways with a defense. And in case you need Kalman Yeager whatsoever, you can always call his office, and his number is 718-853-2704. The Honorable Kalman Yeager, 718-853-2704. And
it's wonderful to hear that they're working together, and I think that's something that our Honorable Dov Heiken, my dear friend, told us last
week. Our Honorable Assemblyman Simcha Eichenstein, I'm very proud of them. They've came through a lot for us this week. Thank you, Dimitri, for the show. Thank you, everybody, all our sponsors.
God bless you all.
God bless all of you. Be safe.
And views expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of AM 620 WSNR or its management.
This is AM 620